Okay. So this routine is called Numberless Word Problems, and we're going to start with looking at the beginning of a word problem. So, Mark, you want to show us the beginning? Okay. So this is the beginning of your word problem. What do you notice?
Well, it doesn't give any information about how much money or when or why. Well, yeah, it doesn't really, it's fundraising, but it doesn't really give a lot of, it just says that they did a thing.
Hmm. Okay, so you're noticing a lot of information missing. Yeah.
Well, I'm noticing it's a statement. I mean, yeah, there's possibly information missing, but I have questions because I don't know what you want me to do with this information.
Mm, okay. Yeah. Other things you notice?
I'm noticing just it's about money and it's about goals and fundraising. So that's kind of like framing it for me like, okay, there's like a amount that they have in mind and are they meeting it or not kind of thing.
So, there is definitely, this raises some questions. There's some information maybe we're hoping for. Do you have
Mhm.
any idea what kind of numbers we might expect to find?
I'd be picturing bigger numbers, whole numbers. Um, Depending on the size of the charity, we're talking hundreds or thousands or more.
Any other thoughts?
It's hard to say really, but I probably would be looking for some kind of time because we have the word goal. And so that makes me feel like I would need increments. And so I would need a goal and where I'm at. Like, so maybe a division of some sort or like a chart or a fraction, something like this I'm looking for.
Well, I see annual, and I'm thinking this must be a period, for their major fundraising for the whole year.
Hmm. So does that give you, Jean was talking about maybe it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. Does that seem, would you think it would be around there, or would you think it might be different numbers?
I think that it would vary from community to community because it says local charity. And so if you're in a huge metropolitan city, it might be hundreds of thousands. But if you're in a small community, where I'm at, it would probably be hundreds of thousands. Thousands.
Maybe thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big difference between thousands and hundreds of
Uh-huh.
thousands. Um, let's give them a little bit more information then. So you have some new information. How does this help you understand the situation?
Well, it's not a small community, probably. It's probably a larger community with 350. Yeah.
We've got some sense of maybe the size of the community or the size of the organization.
Right.
Other thoughts?
I'd still want to know like where are we? Because I know whether it's their annual fundraising drive, that's fine, but like where are we in the year? Like, so how much have they already made? What do we need to come up with? How far are we from the goal?
So, like, how close are we to the 350,000?
Like, yeah, how far away or how close are we? I guess I probably think of it more negative. How far away are we? But yeah, how
Mhm.
close are we to the goal? If we made it early, is there a bonus? Like,
Mhm. These are great questions. Makes me wonder too, what the what is their annual budget? How much is this fundraising accounting for?
yeah, and I was kind of thinking too, like, what will they? Yeah, what are they going to spend it on? What is it like? Yeah, what is the budget? Like, is there like, are they marketing things that's going to take up a big chunk? Is it going to change the following year? like these kinds, those kinds of things may or may not matter, but they're things I would ask.
I was wondering if this is a goal that they've set and reached before, or if this is a higher goal than in the past, or maybe
Mhm.
lower if they weren't able to reach a certain amount in the past.
These are excellent questions. Any other questions that are coming up for you or new ideas about this situation? All right, shall we give them a little more? All right, so what new information have we got now?
Well, they've raised money before, and based
Mhm.
on what they've done in the past, um, they kind of know about how many donors they're going to need to get contributions from.
Yeah, it sort of connects to some of what Tim was talking about how they might have maybe this informs how they set their goal too, because now we know that this is not their first go round with this. Do you have any thoughts about what the missing number could be?
Well, I think to myself, if it were, what would it be? Like it would be 350 if they each gave 1,000, right? So then I'm trying to think about like what's the caliber of the people who are donating to this, and so what agenda may they have or may they not have, or is it a bunch of rich people, or is it a genuinely community event, like a grassroots type of thing? So then I'm kind of curious, like what kind of charity is it? Is it a real charity, or is it a tax write-off for a for disgusting billionaires? And I know that we're recorded, so I would have said,
I think it's interesting too when you raise that, well, if 350 people and they each paid 1,000, what would that look like? Because now it makes me wonder, do they have a certain number of contributions from donor brackets? Like we need this many who chip in $25 and this many who are at the $1,000 level. Do they know their base well enough? And since it's a local charity versus more of a national charity, it may need those gradated amounts.
Mhm. I like the idea too, Carrie brought up that like it could be 350 people each contributing 1,000. Can you imagine other, like Heidi was bringing up, that it could be people contributing different amounts? What other sorts of numbers might make sense here? Or what other kinds of situations could you imagine?
Well, when you said that, Carrie, it made me think, okay, well, what if it were 700 people giving 500? That, that maybe that's more realistic and, kind of doubling and halving each one of those to get kind of a picture of how you could range what's realistic for your population.
Or if you had corporations or big companies in the area, I mean, it could even go above 1,000. It could be 10,000, a bracket for 10,000. I don't know.
Yeah, 10,000 people giving $35, Mark put in the
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Heidi, when you said it could be, what did you say, 700 people each giving 5,000? Was that did that come from looking at the numbers in the or the number given, or did it come from listening to Carrie's ideas, or was it something else?
It was hearing Carrie say it, actually. Because I was like, I can't imagine people giving 1,000, but they'd be more likely to give 500.
Mhm.
Or you might be able to reach more people that way.
Any other thoughts? We do have more information to share, but I don't want to release it too quickly.
I'm wondering if this is the new fundraising campaign for ANN.
Well, I mean, it's interesting to think about, how many donors could we get from ANN, and then how much maybe would we need to get from each one. Uh, shall we give a little bit more? I saw some reactions on faces to that number. Anybody want to give voice to those reactions?
I saw what Mark had put in the chat around that same time, so I was like, "Oh, nice, pretty close on our estimating."
Hmm.
Yeah, I saw what
Yeah.
Mark put in too. And then when I saw the number, I'm like, okay, so it's a lot of donors giving small amounts. So that kind of answers that community level question. So it's a lot of small donations versus maybe some slightly bigger ones, but kind of gives you the range.
I mean, it could easily just be people giving $20 and then a few people only giving 10 and a few people giving 5, so it is one of those, maybe like, it could be something as much as like a local politician, reaching out to the community.
Mhm.
Maybe not
So,
the charity. Well, I mean, politicians are charities in their own way, but maybe not. Okay. I'm developing a story. I'm sorry.
no, it's great. It's great that you're developing a story, right? Because this is a story problem. Um, and although it still doesn't have a question, which is something that we are used to seeing in story problems. So I think we've already heard some questions thrown around, but what do you think the question could be at the end of this? What kinds of questions could we ask?
I was thinking what variations or what different amounts are given by a certain number of donors, if they're all the same amount, if some are much higher and some are much lower.
Other thoughts? What could the question be at the end of this?
Question like this could be like, what would the average donation have been?
Hmm.
Um, or maybe like if you had a little bit more information, you might be able to determine like what some of those round numbers might have been. Like give what could 3 brackets of donations have been for this project? But I guess you don't really need more information, but it'd be nice if you had a little, I still want a little more information. Like I want to know what kind of charity and I want to know, so it kind of gives me an idea of what kind of person. Oh, that's probably a little rude when I think about it because like then I'm making an assumption about what kind of a person donates to what kind of charity. And so I'm double judging. I'm compound judging.
I
And
think
that's
it
kind
makes. Go ahead, Teresa.
I I think that with it, evidently in the past, they've at least got approximately 25,000 donors that they can look to that's pretty reliable to give them money throughout the year. So I would think that it would be, a good charity. That's quite a few followers for a charity if it's just a local charity. So I wouldn't question really the charity. I'm more on the line of like Tim, wondering how could it be broken down? Is there different brackets that people could choose to donate to, and that sort of thing.
It's making me want to ask, how many different ways could you get contributions at different levels? What are the different ways to achieve the 350,000 across 25,000 donors?
Yeah, I was thinking about whether people all give around the same amount or not, but regardless, if you could like get everybody to give $2 more than they gave last year, that would be a difference of $50,000 over 25,000 people.
If there were an incentive to get to a particular level, then could they eliminate that to save for the budget and not have to ask as much, but still like have more purchasing power?
Mhm.
I feel like we're working for NPR. This feels very, very familiar. You give $2 more right now, we won't need to hit you up for a second time in the year.
Right. So we came up with a lot of good questions, and there is a question at the end of this, but before we show it, I just want to point out that like that was the question that is at the end of this task is just one of many possible questions, and it's not any better or more interesting than any of the other questions that we came up with. But do you want to throw the question in now? Well done. Um, so here's our complete word problem then, and um, how would you what would you say this question means if you wanted to put it in your own words, especially given all the conversation we've had up to this point?
It feels kind of boring to just end there.
Hmm. That's nice. It's nice to want more from your word problem.
What struck me was that you you should clarify whether it needs to be a question that can be answered given the information that you have or not.
Can this question be answered given the information that we have?
Yes, but not, I think not all the questions that were posed
Mhm.
could be answered with the information that we had. And I assumed you wanted a question that could be answered with the information, and clearly other people didn't. So it was just interesting to hear the variety.
You can also sometimes build some more information into the question, like if everybody gives $10, will they meet their goal?
The answer is no.
That's great too, because you can say, you can ask them to justify how do you know it's not won't meet their goal? And then have them explain it, which is nice. What I really like about this so far, I don't know if we're doing this yet, but what I like, it reminds me a lot of that slow reveal graph. And I love these. I use them, I don't want to say all the time, but I use them often. And I really like this because it gets you thinking about each part. And then removing a little piece and then bringing it in, and it makes you think about it like more, like so that they can look for that information. I think it's a really difficult part of doing these. Maybe the most difficult part is the extracting which information to use and which information to ignore. I think a lot of times students get nervous and they think they just need to answer. They're using whatever they can. They're clawing around, like if they can just relax. But it's tough in the environment.
Um, yeah, I think let's bring the routine part to a close now. I'll stop the recording and I'll turn it back to Mark. And thank you for that segue, Carrie.